And with this act, the Biden administration and the Democrats have engaged in a seditious conspiracy against these United States. CNN reports Biden administration sues Texas over state's controversial immigration law. And I mean it. I think it's serious. Every day, we have been seeing around 10,000. These are small towns. 10,000 illegal immigrants crossing the border illegally. The Biden administration has begun to facilitate the human trafficking. Yes, literally. I'm not being cute. Coyotes and human traffickers are bringing people across the border, and the Biden administration is helping facilitate this. There was a Customs and Border Patrol agent who tried turning away a family. He's now under investigation. My friends, should this continue, you will not have a country. In fact, I would say as of right now, with the border being as destroyed and open as it is, it's hard to say whether or not there's a country at all. I'll tell you why. You have, in violation of the Constitution and law, agents within the federal government with no oversight, no accountability, facilitating human trafficking and crimes against this country and states like Texas. Texas outright said it is illegal to cross our borders without proper documentation. Joe Biden says we're going to sue you to stop you from being able to enforce the law as it is codified federally and locally. So what is this? You know, a federal judge already ruled that the Biden administration needs to stop removing the barricades to prevent the illegal immigrants from crossing, but he's allowing it. Right now, we're getting reporting that there is a caravan of 15,000 people called the Exodus from Poverty, or the Poverty Exodus, marching towards the border. And the Biden administration seeks to allow these non-citizens to enter the country. What will this mean? Well, to understand why this will be the end of the United States, there are the philosophical, there is the semantic, and then there is the historical. All things that you could point out and make the argument for why this country will be in trouble. Let's start. We'll go through the news, but let me start with each of these points. Philosophically, if you do not have a border, you do not have a country. A country or a nation, however you want to define either of the terms, requires a jurisdiction for which a group of people set boundaries and contribute to to a variety of things, the common defense being one of them. Philosophically, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And that also lends itself to the semantic, the definition of the word nation or country, which requires a definition of some identifiable boundaries. If there are no longer identifiable boundaries and they're being destroyed, and the federal government is actively stripping these barriers away, then even by definition, you do not have a country. Historically, what does this mean? I think it's no secret that everyone recognizes how screwed up California is. It's got beautiful weather. It's got nice places, too. The taxes have run amok. There's human feces littering the streets in many of these cities. And it's pretty wild. I mean, California's a great place. The weather's fantastic. A lot of farming being done there, a lot of food being produced. But you take a look at how the government is run and it's chaos. I mean, how long has Skid Row been a thing in Los Angeles? It's the epitome of all the sci-fi dystopian novels. We know that California is a pretty screwed up place. Now, I can respect there are a lot of people that recognize the good that it has. It's got mountains, it's got beaches. You can go snowboarding in California. It's a big state. And there are a lot of great things about it and good people there. It's a lot of people there, 30 plus million. But governance, homelessness, prices, it defines, it exemplifies dystopia. Ronald Reagan was, a lot of people like to say he was a good president. They love him. They love him so much. I don't. No fault divorce, gun control, amnesty for millions of illegal immigrants. To be fair, no fault divorce was a product of his governorship, not his presidency. But what ends up happening? Ronald Reagan signs into law these amnesty bills. There's a question about how is it that California went from being Republican to being Democrat? A component of where we are today. And it's actually quite simple. Many people point to Proposition 187. It was a proposition that would say non-citizens do not get access to public services. And there were protests and revolt. And it resulted in many of those non-citizens who eventually received amnesty into supporting their non-citizen friends in the most silly and obvious move imaginable. And that's thanks to Ronald Reagan. I'm from the United States. My family, every one of them, is from the United States. My grandparents, or I should say one of my grandparents, is an immigrant. And if you go far enough down the line, there is a mix of some immigrants and some non-immigrants. But I think it's fair to say we're a nation of immigrants. They say that all the time. Yeah, but I don't really count the people that were in my family who were here, 300 or 400 years ago. If you were here before the country was a country, then they're not immigrants. Although many people would make that argument. As this, being born here, believing in this country, coming from a family, even those immigrants who came here who assimilated, I value the traditions, the moral frameworks, the worldview that Americans have. Now, for those that come to this country from other places in the world, they hold a different moral framework. Their culture is not a part of ours. And as many of these immigrants come here and they don't assimilate, you end up with multiculturalism and fractured worldviews within the nation. Now, I'm all for immigration, 100%. I've long said every single person in the world, all of them, should come to the United States. That's right. They should all come here. They should all, every single one, legally. What does that mean? It'll take a long time and it's probably not possible. But to all of the legal immigrants and legal asylum seekers, I have tremendous respect for them. And I want to do everything in my power to help them. For I do believe that this great nation does have a responsibility to help those in need who seek it. I really do. But that doesn't mean you come here illegally. It means that, if I'm going to run into a burning building to try and save someone's life, you can't grab onto my leg and force me to drag you out of that building. I'll determine how I save those I can save. What we have here with this mass illegal immigration facilitated by the Biden administration, as well as the trafficking of minors, is the subversion and destruction of the United States as we know it. Tens of thousands of people every single day. In the past 3 years, it is estimated to be between 6 and 7 million non-citizens brought into this country. You need only take a look at what happened in California with Prop 187 to understand how this results in the destruction of a country. Because you need only take a look at what California has become. I know there's good things about it. Nothing's all bad. Well, some things are bad, right? But I mean, in terms of the state of California, there are good people there and 10 million Republicans. Not all the Republicans are good, mind you. But I tell you, you need only look at California to figure out where this all goes. With 6 point some odd million non-citizens entering this country from all different countries, they do not bring with them the values of the founding fathers, the Constitution, the recognition of our moral foundations. If these people are granted amnesty, they will bring into this country a worldview that is alien to the United States. And it's not meant to be a dig. It's in the literal semantic definition. Something not a part of our founding traditions and moral frameworks. 6 million. It's a tremendous voting bloc. But I'm not even so much concerned about whether or not they will be granted amnesty. Now, of course, you can take a look at California and see what happens when you have mass illegal immigration, when amnesty is passed in the 80s and what it results in. It's actually quite simple. Illegal immigrants come to this country. Illegal immigrants will have children. Those children will be American citizens. Proposition 187 is proposed in the 90s, which is, I believe it was 12 to 14 years after the amnesty of Reagan. And you know what's going to happen? These people, many of them who came here, became citizens, but their family members are still illegal immigrants who broke our laws. They are criminals. And they get free stuff from us, the taxpayer. What happens when we then try to stop the criminals from stealing from the public coffers? Their friends and family members and their communities revolt. And that's what happened. You take a look what's going on in the U.S. right now with this mass illegal immigration and Joe Biden facilitating it. And I'll give you some predictions. 1, there's an amendment that was proposed. Thomas Massey's a co-sponsor. Forgive me, I forgot who the drafter was. That argues that congressional seats must only be apportioned based on citizens, not population size. Because right now, they estimate that there are several seats. I think they say like 5 to 7 extra seats in California based on illegal immigrants. Why? They'll go to an area. They'll ask how many people live here. They don't care if you're a citizen or not. They'll then give you a congressional seat. But why are members of Congress representing non-citizens? Doesn't make sense. They don't pay into the public coffers. Now, the left will argue they do, but not all of them do. And many of them work under the table. They're not citizens. They can earn their citizenship fine, but they came here illegally. They're criminals. I think immigration's great. I think we gain so much from immigration. Really do. And I know there are a lot of people on the right that are like, no, all immigration should be stopped. And blah. No. Immigration's fantastic. It's got to be legal. There's got to be proper planning for economics, placement, assimilation, etc. We want to preserve our Constitution and our rights. But here's what I see happening. They're going to bring in 6 million plus people. They're sending them to certain areas. Ask yourself why. Why are these immigrants being brought to certain cities? This will shift the demographics and the voting patterns of the city. More importantly, it will bolster the amount of congressional representatives that these cities have by adding tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. A city that should get maybe 1 rep will now have 2. Not because there are more citizens who should be represented, but because the Biden administration facilitated human trafficking and brought people into that place. These people will be second-class citizens. They will not be allowed to vote, but their presence will grant another member of Congress who will vote with the power granted by their presence. I believe this is an affront to what this country is supposed to be standing for. The other issue is these people will have children, and those children will have more allegiance to their families, as they should, than to their community, than to the community of the United States. I mean no disrespect to any individual who does this. You absolutely should protect your family at all costs. But what does that mean for the United States? It means that these younger people who are related to illegal immigrants will do everything they can to protect their non-citizen family members and friends, not the country that they're citizens of. I'm not making this up or speculating. It's literally what happened, and you can look at the historical record and actually see it. I want to show you this video. Myra Flores says the largest migrant caravan of 2023, known as the Poverty Exodus, has recently departed from southern Mexico, comprising approximately 15,000 individuals. Now, it's reported they've broken up into smaller groups. They're chanting, "We're not criminals." Yes, you are. No, hold on. They may be not criminals right now, but when you cross the border illegally, you've committed a crime. That makes you a criminal. Facilitating this is wrong. It's evil. And to see now that Biden is suing Texas to allow the facilitation of criminal activity. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Justice and federal law enforcement that is in support of these actions by the Biden administration facilitating this, they're criminals. The men and women in uniform that are on the border assisting and facilitating criminals are aiding and abetting crimes against the United States. These people are the banality of evil. The Customs and Border Protection agents who allow people to break our laws, helping them do it. Why? Well, I was told to. That doesn't matter. You're still breaking the law. I mean, come on, I use the bank robbery analogy often. Chief of police tells a couple of cops to go to the bank and take money from the vault. You think they're going to be like, it's not your fault. You were told to do it. They're going to say you robbed the bank. We're in for dangerous times right now. What we are seeing on the southern border is one of the most egregious attacks on the fabric of this nation that I've ever seen in my life or have even read about. And I think the issue is the Democrats realize they're losing. With Donald Trump winning in 2016 and with his tremendous support in 2020, despite the shadow campaign that they call it, Donald Trump's winning. Belief in this country is winning. And so Joe Biden and his ilk seem to be doing everything in their power to try and destroy this country. And that's what's happening right now. You know, I will tell you this, as I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't care about Joe Biden. And I'll give a shout out to Michael Malice. He said, I'm paraphrasing here, but the demands of politicians are letters to Santa Claus without the police. He's correct. Joe Biden can stand on the tallest mount the largest rock. He can sit in a throne made of gold and look in the eyes of the American people and say, I will destroy your country and bring in 10,000 non-citizens every single day. He can say that all he wants. It means nothing. You know what means something? That there are men and women in uniform who smile and say, whatever you say, boss. These men and women who are facilitating the criminal activities on the southern border, the human trafficking and child smuggling the Biden administration is a part of, they look upon you with a smirk and a Kubrick stare, spit in your face and laugh as they burn down your country, and you can't do anything about it. There is something you can do, and there are many things you can do, but there's one powerful thing you can do. Get your friends and family registered to vote and win. I talked about this in great deal last night. You know, we were on IRL talking about the Epstein documents and accountability. And there are a lot of people who want to act a fool. They think that going to the southern border or fighting or being violent solves these problems. It certainly does not. The problem is one thing, that men and women are willing to serve evil. You cannot win a fight with force against such an idea. There are two things that must be done. The first is cultural. You must win the war before it happens. Sun Tzu, Art of War. What does that mean? That means a lot of things, but I'll give you a simple explanation as it pertains to the 2024 election. Should what we are facing in this country turn to violence, how do you win a war before it starts? You convince as many people as possible to stand alongside us, cast their ballot for Donald Trump or Vivek Ramaswamy, those who are willing to help purge the corruption and secure our borders. Because then what happens? In the event there is conflict or crisis, it'll be over before it starts. Why? Because nobody will fight. That's the point. Maybe the far left gets violent when Trump wins. But if the overwhelming majority of the people of this country believe in our views and our values and recognize the crisis at our borders, then it'll be short-lived. It'll be protests and riots. There won't be a war, actually. That's how you win a war before it starts. How can you succeed and save this country? I don't know that Donald Trump is a good dude or a hero. I think he's the best president of my lifetime. Why? No new wars. Withdrawing from the Middle East, he did a lot of great things that we're very happy to see. He's also kind of a lewd and lascivious old man. That we know. So I don't know what to tell you other than he is no saint and there will be no Superman to come save you. Sorry. Trump may be the best you got, but the cleanest, safest, and most effective path to victory would be building culture, sharing videos like this, informing your friends and family and neighbors, selling them, convincing them, saying, please help us stand up for what this country believes in. The rule of law. Without a border, without laws, you have no country. So the arguments from Democrats that we are a nation of laws and we protect immigrants. Yes, but not illegal, criminal immigrants who are breaking the law and ignoring our borders. That subverts our nation. Convince your friends and family. Register them to vote. Overwhelm the polls this November and elect Donald Trump, or if need be, Vivek Ramaswamy. You know, I'll take a Ron DeSantis if that's what we can get, if that's all we can get. Not that I'm super confident, but I don't think Trump is the savior or saint. I don't. I think he's got a lot of problems. But we're not talking about begging for Superman. We're talking about we as individuals doing what we can to push back on the corruption. And it is simple. In the event Donald Trump wins, or at the very least, we overwhelm the polls and they can dispute it all they'd like. Donald Trump becomes president. We avoid the worst of this. Mass deportation to the criminals who illegally entered this country. They go home. It is pure evil. It is malicious evil what we are seeing from the Biden administration. And the solution is only one thing. Convincing people to stand by your side and winning control of the institutions. Why? There is no circumstance where external action, violence and conflict solves a deep moral and cultural problem. You will not convince a Border Patrol guard to do the right thing by screaming in his face that he's evil and wrong and fighting with him. You will convince a border guard not to commit evil when he realizes he won't get any food. And this is what people need to understand about civil conflict. It may be that when all is said and done, violence does happen, and we hope that doesn't. But if you really want to convince the evil individuals of the federal law enforcement agencies serving the Biden administration to stop, it's actually really simple. When they show up to your bakery, you say, "We don't serve you here. Sorry, you can leave." If you're in Eagle Pass or in these areas and you think what these people are doing is wrong by facilitating these criminals, do not provide them service. You know, it's funny because we talk about, periodically we talk about post-apocalyptic and things like this. And a point I like to make is the misconceptions people have about solving problems. A lot of people will say, buy your gold. You got to buy gold because if the system collapses, no. Let me tell you. Gold is only worth buying in the event the system does not collapse. When the system faces tumultuous times, gold is something great to have. But if the system ceases to exist, your gold is worth nothing. Imagine this scenario. Civilization collapses. It's war and conflict. Let's say there's civil war. People are shooting at each other. And you're walking down the street, and there are two men, one on the left, one on the right. You have with you water. Oh, sweet, sweet, delicious water. You need to live. And the man on the left and the man on the right both say, please, please share your water with us. And you say, I can't spare any. It's all that I have. I'd be willing to trade, however, with something I may need. What have you, good sir? The man on the left produces gold coins and says, look, gold. Give me some water and I will give you gold. The man on the right pulls out a chunk of delicious beef and says, share with me your water and I will share with you a meal. I can guarantee you 100%. Ain't nobody taking that gold. You can't carry it. It's too heavy. You can't eat it. Sorry, sir. Your shiny rocks are enticing, but I'm hungry. But people don't understand this. They think you're going to be trading silver and gold when this stuff happens. No way. You're going to be trading water. People in cities will be desperate for it. And why do I bring up this analogy? Because people look at what's happening on the border and they think the way to gain control and convince someone is through conflict, crisis, fighting, violence. It's not. They're wrong. The people who are serving Joe Biden do it because their bellies are full. Why? In Venezuela, does the National Guard shoot students who are protesting? Because the government keeps their bellies full. What would happen if these Border Patrol agents who are facilitating this criminal activity one day realized that by wearing this uniform, they could no longer go shopping anywhere? They weren't welcome at birthday parties. They were spat on by people in disgust and rage. Figuratively, I mean, if they were literally, yeah, but I don't want to advocate for that either. They'd say, I quit. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be shunned or ostracized. I'm hungry. That's the real issue. We must win the culture war and make sure each and every one of these people know if you facilitate the criminal activities, the sedition, the Biden administration against these United States, we will not forget. And what does that mean? Well, I don't think illegal immigration rises to the level of concentration camps and murder. It simply means, as far as I'm concerned, that if you are a Border Patrol agent, the first thing I ask you is, are you serving the Biden administration's whims and helping facilitate the criminal actions against this country? By wearing that uniform, you are. Sorry, you're not welcome here. It really is interesting. I meet a lot of people. I've met people who are waiters, who are garbage men, who work in law enforcement, and they say they're fans of the show. Well, I hope each and every one of you knows this. If I ever meet you, and you're a fan of this show, Timcast IRL or the Tim Pool Daily Show, if I ever meet you, and then you explain to me how you facilitated sedition against this country, but it's your job, you have no choice, I will look you in the eyes and say, you are the evil we are fighting against. Because without your blind support for sedition. Without you, there isn't any. Joe Biden could sit on his throne of lies and facilitate criminal activity in this country, or try to. But if there is no lackey and no henchman to carry out those orders, if every Border Patrol guard said no, it'd be done. That's it. No questions asked. No disputes, no news coverage, no legal cases. Every Border Patrol agent who knows what they're doing is wrong, every pilot, every baggage handler that facilitates this, you are the evil we are fighting against. I met a man in Chicago, told me that he was told that a Swift Airjet with 140 illegal immigrants flew in, and he was told that it was the Blackhawks. And they got all excited, and when they went to pull the bags out, it was 3 garbage bags. That's what he said. And I'm like, they told you it was the Blackhawks? And he goes, yep. And I said, why? And he's like, man, they didn't want us to know that it was illegal immigrants. And I said, is it because if you knew that they were asking you to serve illegal immigrants entering this country, you would have rejected? He goes, yup. This guy didn't want to do it. He was tricked into doing it. That's unfortunate. That's not evil. That's unfortunate. I respect that guy. He said, but I wonder, I do. Is that guy going to say no next time when Swift Air comes in? How many of these people are going to be like, look, man, I don't know. I just want my paycheck. So be it. I think of the founding fathers. Everybody says to me, Tim, you don't have kids. You don't know what it's like. I think of the founding fathers who sacrificed their families, their sacred treasure, and their honor to defend and create this great nation. Many of the founding fathers lost their kids. Ben Franklin's son disowned him, became a loyalist, and fled. Wow. But more importantly, I think of the devil. And so I hope this is clear to each and every individual who is facilitating the sedition against this country. You have made the deal with the devil. You are the evil we are fighting against. And there is no excuse. There are no words you can say to me that will make me forgive you. Because let me make sure this is clear. Be it figuratively or literally. You have signed a deal with the devil to protect yourself, your friends, and your family. And they say, but Tim, I have children, and my children must eat, and I will absolutely do what I must to give them full bellies. Did you think when the devil offered you the deal, it was going to be over something you didn't need? Did you think that the deal with the devil meant he offered you an infinity pool and a penthouse in New York City? Naive. When the devil comes knocking and offers you the deal, he's going to say, your child's life for eternal servitude. Are you strong enough to say no? How many of you would say, I would sacrifice my soul for my child? That may be honorable that you'd sacrifice so much for your children, but still understand. That means you'd be willing to accept the deal with the devil. And again, figuratively or literally. I don't need people to come and make the argument about, like, I don't believe in the devil. So that's not the point I'm making. For those that are people of faith and do understand that demons and devils will try to cut deals with you, it will always be the most difficult choice you've ever had to make. Will you serve evil to protect your family? Because that's what we see every single day. We talk about possession. It really does feel like so many people in this country are possessed. They lie, they cheat, they steal for power. And it may be rather simple. A battle of good and evil is before us. Whether it is truly biblical or it is just the nature of humanity and we are nothing but squishy, wet robots. Darkness came and it said to you, I will give you food for your family if you drop to your knees and engage in evil actions. And so many people said yes. It's fascinating to me. When I mentioned, like, there are people who work these jobs that they know they're doing wrong. They work these jobs where they're engaging in woke cult nonsense and they refuse to speak up. And people say, yeah, but it's hard because I have kids. And I'm like, I get it. You realize, though, that is the point. It will never be easy. You'll be asked to rip your own heart out for the betterment of mankind or to serve evil to the betterment of your personal circles. Not easy and never will be. I don't have any good answers for you, my friends. But when I saw these videos, when I see what's happening on the southern border, we're here. We are here. The Biden administration has been, for several years now, facilitating human trafficking and smuggling children into this country. I can't believe that there are men and women willing to facilitate human trafficking to keep the bellies of their children full. I really can't believe it. I mean, I suppose I get it. So many people would sell their souls to the devil himself to feed their children. Wow. If that's the case, what little hope have we? But I don't know, man. I got to tell you, there is a simple path forward. And it is confidence. And it is your personal fulfillment of your duties to your country, to your neighbors, to the future your children will inherit. And that is to say, there is only one path forward in solving this problem. Now, that one path involves a lot of different things. I'm not saying there's only one action. But that path is, we need people to stand up for what's right. We need people to vote, to register to vote, to seize control of the institutions, to win the culture war, to refuse to service evil. And then a component of that is who we elect at the state level, our reps, our governors, those in Congress, and the president. And if they don't act, we do the same thing. But it is really simple, my friend. There is no Superman who will save you. There is no savior. The reality is, it is the collective conscience of the American people. If right now, every single Border Patrol agent, every one of them, simply said, we're done with this, we're pushing these people back, you'd end up with 6 million people on the northern border of Mexico, and the Mexican government scrambling. But it's their own fault for allowing these people to enter their country as it is. Why should we bear the brunt? There's only one problem we face. That men and women within the Border Patrol, the National Guard, the FBI are willing to be evil because it benefits them personally. How do we solve for that? We win the culture war. Politics is downstream from culture. Breitbart was right, and you know it. We need to vote. We need to make sure that people don't act a fool. We need to be wary of false flags where they'll try and make it seem like those who believe in America are engaging in violence. And if you know anybody who wants to, you tell them to shut their mouths because they are a detriment to our success. We win when everyone sees the world for what it really is and recognizes good must prevail. You're not going to win by fighting physically. It's just not going to happen. There are countries to this day that are still in civil war, and it's been decades, and it'll never stop. While we can, we have to win the culture war. We have to convince people to do good, reject evil, and refuse to service, figuratively or literally, the devil. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.